Hello, it's Ma again, and yep, this is my spoiler video on the Silent Hill 2 remake! If you'd like to hear my thoughts on the remake with no spoilers, then watch this video. Links in the description. If you don't want to watch it, then to put it simply, it has flaws, it's different but faithful, and I think it should be the new standard for remakes. So, I'm gonna spoil the hell out of the Silent Hill 2 remake, and the OG game as well. Don't worry, the original game deserves its own video, but comparisons will be made. You have been warned. Silent Hill 2 is the perfect game, and the less you know about it, the better your first time experience will be. I want to be clear, this is not going to be an over-analyzing video of Silent Hill 2. This is my thoughts on the remake. Silent Hill 2 deserves its own video, if that happens. This means I'm not going to explain every little detail, or else this video will be too long. Got it? Before we begin, I want to thank KurokiHollow again for returning and making my avatar for the thumbnail of this video. It's the red face safe screen with a twist. I love it. It screams of depression. Their links will be in the description. Please support them now! FYI, they do make the naughty stuff. That means not safe for work. You have been warned. Begin nightmare. The story is still the same. Honestly, my biggest fear about the remake was Blooper changing the story, making it more family friendly by changing the dialogue or the endings, etc. For the most part, it's the same. This makes me happy because Silent Hill 2 is very dark. It has symbolism of man's sexual frustrations, and it oozes of the theme of suicide throughout the game. If anything drastic was changed, then it wouldn't be faithful. It honestly would be an underwhelming retelling of Silent Hill 2's story. To explain the story of Silent Hill 2 bluntly, a fart face named James Sunderland kills wife with pillow due to that damn disease, and abuse he gets from said wife. Man is consumed with guilt, drinks a ton, takes wife's body to car, and goes to Silent Hill, aka wife's and man's special place, to commit suicide. Fartface meets all sorts of wacky characters that are also dealing with guilt, and Alora. In the end, depending on how the player plays the game, it will determine Fartface James's ending. I left out a lot of details, that's because it belongs in the OG Silent Hill 2 video, if I ever make it. Blooper did make some changes like trying dialogue, changing it, using the same dialogue in different places. Mostly I'm fine with this. It still feels faithful. For example, James no longer says, "You gone nuts," but punches Eddie. It's still stupid punching someone with a gun, yet perfectly marks the point of no return for James and Eddie. However, there are two examples of Blooper trying a line which in my opinion hurts the experience. The lesser damaging one is, "This town is full of monsters. How can you just sit there and eat pizza?" Not only was this line a funny moment in a very depressing game, but in a narrative sense, the game is telling the player about how the town is using temptation to keep Eddie and James in Silent Hill. Plus, depending on the ending you're going for, it recontextualizes James as a character. If you're loyal to Mary and you're going for the in-water ending, James is right to call out Eddie, but if you're going for the Maria ending, not only is James a hypocrite, but a mega delusional one for being tempted by Maria. Literally, you meet Maria before you meet Eddie in the scene. Even the funny lines are purposeful and well written. This is done in the remake. In Blooper's remake, James makes a comment and without knowing it hurts Eddie. Yes, after this chat, Eddie is much colder to James. I like that detail, but you miss out on the funny line. Yes, the line is still there as an Easter egg, but no, it's not the same. It doesn't count. I won't allow it. All Blooper had to do was add a little extra line. If I may. There are those damn monsters in this town, and look at you. That won't stop your appetite. See? That covers both hurting Eddie and referencing the idea of the town tempting Eddie to stay, and I think it's funny? I don't know. I'm bad at writing, but you get the point. They could have added the line to do both, okay? This next example, in my opinion, really hurts the story. They cut the lines where James confesses he wanted to commit suicide all along in the in-water ending. Now I understand the real reason I came to this town. I wonder what was I afraid of? Without you, Mary, I've got nothing. James Sunderland wanted to die before you play as him. James, the character, wanted to commit suicide. This is a fact. There are notes, puzzles, imagery, dialogue, symbolism, items, and actions that reference suicide. So when you hear that line, it comes full circle. All the pieces connect. Fartface James wanted to die. It's why many of us consider In Water to be canon. It's what James wanted to do all along. A man who can't live without Mary and wishes to punish himself for what he did. Regardless of the other endings, James doesn't value his own life. He doesn't turn back when he could easily do so. He puts his hands in holes, jumps in holes. By the way, one is a grave with his name on it. He sees corpses that look like him. It hammers that fact. Knowing that James wanted to die only makes the leave ending that much sweeter. He wanted to end it all along, but decided to live on for Mary. Even when you don't get in water, it makes the other endings better, or even more nastier. In water will always be my canon ending. Back on track. Instead of James's confession, we get a dialogue that references the sad fact that In Water is the only ending where James disobeys Mary's last wish to live on. That's nice, and I do appreciate that. I really do. But you could have included both! Why blooper? Why cut the lines? I don't know. Maybe they thought the ton of suicide references was enough and it was better for the player to speculate what James's motivation was. Or perhaps the lines are too dark for modern audiences. I don't know, but in my opinion, those lines being cut hurts the remake. It's like a missing last puzzle piece. It fully connects everything, you know, and it sucks. And I know, it's a few lines, but every little thing in Silent Hill 2 mattered. It made James as a character even more tragic. Like the story, the characters are still faithful to the original. James is still a very complex character, but at the same time he's still a pathetic loser dork nerd. They didn't shy away from Eddie's obesity. Laura is still a little shit. Maria is a succubus. Like, she's even more manipulative, I hate that fucking word so much, in the remake than the OG in different ways. Mary is endearing yet tragic. And Angela, you know. Of course, Blooper did change things up a bit with the characters' dialogue and mannerisms, yet it's still done in a faithful way. Their designs are also fantastic. Maria looks great, Mary's a sweetheart, James looks depressed with Jacob's jacket, Eddie is just wow. He got the best treatment in my opinion, like you can feel how much he was bullied. Laura is good, no real changes, and then we have Angela. Oh dear. So she's fine, I guess. Her remake look is fine, and not bad, but it's not good either. Maybe this is my nostalgic eyes, but her OG look was perfect. She's a 19-year-old, yet Team Silent intentionally made her look older because of how dark/sensitive her story is. It's a very smart move. Blooper, I guess, wanted to make her look like a 19-year-old, and it looks off. Like, she got a massive revamp. I feel like it was a mistake to do this. I want to be clear, her new look is not bad. It's just a little jarring how different her design is compared to the OG. If there was a mod that made her appearance more like the OG design, like this Maria mod, I would use it. Next, the voices. Yes, Angela's design is the weakest, but her voice actress smashed it. Luke Roberts was weird at the start, like I was not used to his voice. Yet by the end, especially the endings, motherfucker gave it his all! He sounds more and more tired and depressed as the game continues. He was amazing! Eddie's voice actor is so fucking good. Like, he sounds so human and is more lovable. I really like this Eddie. OG Eddie was nasty as hell, which is a good thing by the way, but holy fuck, Remake Eddie does such a good job humanizing him, and the way he sounds more confident once he has a gun. Perfect! It was perfect. Laura's voice actress is okay. Kid actors/actresses aren't to blame for their performance. It's a director's fault. Always. Her best line was fart face. To be honest, I wish an adult voiced her, but it was okay. It's not the worst thing ever. It was okay. And it's Mary/Maria's voice actress time. Oh boy. As Mary, she smashed it. I will always say that Monica Tyler Horgan is perfect and the perfect cast ever for Maria and Mary. The new voice actress, not gonna say her name because I really butchered it the last time. Mary is probably the best we're gonna get. She adds her own twist to Mary, yet she does an excellent job, and she made me cry as well. Seriously, like her scene in the Maria ending, holy fuck. She sounds tired, yet so disappointed at James. Her letter in the end was also heartbreaking. Monica is too good, as in perfect, yet the remake is great. The hallway conversation. Oh baby, it's so good. Her Maria though, it's great. But the anyway scene and the cell scene was really not good, as in bad. It was bad. And those two scenes, in my opinion, are Maria's most important scenes in the game. Yes, we're gonna have to talk about why they were important in the OG. The anyway scene is important because for a moment we witness both Maria's and James's true intentions. Of course, recontextualizations plays a factor too. Let's start with Maria. She is being super manipulative. Oh my god, that fucking word again. Here, she is trying to guilt the fuck out of James. The fart face has mistaken her again for Mary, but he doesn't sound too thrilled to see Maria, so she snaps, dreads out her anger, then embraces him, trying to make the guilt-filled man more guilty. James, on the other hand, is being super awkward, looking down, and honestly appears to be overwhelmed by Maria. But wait, recontextualization! His reaction gives away his intention. If you're going for the in water ending, aka loyal to Maria, I wrote Maria, it's Mary, loyal to Mary, not Maria. Oh my god, I actually wrote that on the script. Oh my god, aka loyal to Mary. His reaction makes sense. Fartface does not give a shit about Maria and is still focused on Mary. His lack of reaction makes sense. However, if you're going for the Maria ending, James made an honest mistake and feels bad. He feels guilty like before and doesn't really know how to respond because he's dealing with it. Maria is being a super arsehole to him. He's genuinely happy to see her. It was just an honest mistake. In the remake, Maria's voice actress just spits everything out and doesn't let the scene breathe. OG Maria dragged it out and you felt her anger. Remake Maria just goes straight to 100, and to be honest, this scene feels awkward. I genuinely feel secondhand embarrassment watching this scene again. I understand this is the director's fault. This was straight up bad editing. Luke Roberts tried his best, but you can't carry the scene alone. The cell scene. Okay. This scene is not as bad as the anyway scene. In the original, the cell scene is very important because Maria is shown her hand. There is no more room for speculation. She was born from a wish. Designed, created to be like Mary, but more. She was born from James's desire for a healthy, beautiful Mary again. Someone to fulfill his needs. A companion to love again, who isn't bedsicken. Someone he can be intimate with. The back and forth from Mary to Maria further hammers her purpose. Monica found the perfect balance. In the remake, she sounds bored. Like James steals the spotlight in this scene. Yes, his part is important too, but the scene was Maria's time to shine and she sounds bored. Even when she says the line, "I'm not your Mary," in the OG, you felt a sinister anger from Maria because she hates being compared to Mary and is constantly mistaken for her by James. She's still a person, and to be honest, it's pretty terrifying. In the remake, she just says the line. Again, it's not as bad as the anyway scene, but it was meh. I have to say it again, but this all comes down to the direction given, and it's their fault, not the actresses. Do not be too negative, her scenes outside of those two are amazing, especially her trying to pretend to be Mary in the endings. That was so Maria, she would so do that. The changes to the gameplay are the biggest difference between the OG and the remake. James isn't as bad at fighting and can dodge, and it feels good, yet James is still a dork who never fought in his life. I like that. James will even attack monsters when they're dead, and it's good, it feels like he's out of his depth. Like the sound he makes when he stomps, he's like, ah, ah! It's so good. Both the new and old puzzles are great. The map doesn't confuse you, and holy fuck, the monsters' behavior is so good. The monsters have their own section, don't you worry. As someone who's played through the game multiple times and trying the different difficulties for combat and puzzle, it was a blast. Especially the puzzles. Like yeah, harder combat difficulty makes the monsters have more health, you can't be too reckless with resources, and it feels scary at times, sure, but the puzzles. Dudes, the puzzles are so good. I hate puzzles, and I love the hard puzzle difficulty. One of my faves has to be the coin puzzle. Blooper had fun with it and rewrote the lines. Each difficulty changes the story, making it darker and darker. I love that. They did the same thing with the music box puzzle, and to be honest, it's the best one. When I figured it out, my heart broke. The princesses represent Mary, and on hard difficulty, the solution is one for all three, because she's all alone, and so is James. Get it? By the way, yes, in the OG, the music box puzzle was my favourite and the best one in my opinion. I don't care, I love it. Now, the most drastic change to the gameplay is the camera. A lot of the OG fans do not like this change. I understand why. In the original, it was locked on, and now it's over the shoulder? It's fine, okay? I honestly think this change for the most part is good because you get to experience or re-experience Silent Hill in a different light. It's so pretty that I warmed up to the new camera instantly. Of course, this affects the interpretation. New camera means you're more up close and personal with James. You become closer to him literally and emotionally. The old camera, you were like an audience member lurking around and watching James's story unfold. This isn't a competition. They are offering a different experience. Both work. Mostly. The hallway and Abstract Daddy with the new camera hurts the experience. We'll talk about Daddy in the bosses section, don't you worry. For the hallway, not only is all the tension gone by making Red Pyramid thing pretty much out of sight, less is more in horror, but throw that big boy a bone at least, lmao. He even teleports around! He is a faster version in this part. Don't make the big guy teleport and attack through walls. Secondly, Maria is always ahead of you. Then cutscene, she's behind. This is stupid and cringe. So cringe. I want to be in water. This is all the camera's fault, by the way. It forces Maria to be ahead of James and forces Red Pyramid thing to be not visible. It sucks so hard. In other news, I love how the game forces the player to press a button to make James put his hand in something or jump in a hole. That makes it feel even more personal and gross, and I love that. Maria's AI, when you have to escort her, is nice. Not once did the AI misbehave or mess up. GG blooper. Also, I gotta mention how they changed / expanded the requirements for Leave, Maria, and In Water endings. To my knowledge, and take this with a grain of salt, because this is just speculation, this was done since in the OG, the Leave ending was the easiest to get, plain blind. I have no issue with this since you can look at a guide in your next playthrough. It's just weird. Like, I did the OG requirements for the Maria ending, and somehow I got the Leave ending. Hell, even DSP Gaming, one of the worst gamers ever, wanted Leave and somehow got In Water. Again, this isn't an issue, it's just something I noticed and I wanted to mention it. They also made the areas more thicker, aka longer. I don't like this. It makes the cutscenes further apart. It legitimately made Silent Hill 2 feel more video gamey. They padded the game. I don't know, the OG was perfect with the pacing. More does not equal good. It's not the worst thing, but I definitely don't like it and I wished it was trimmed. When it comes to the monsters, they are faithful. Itoi Masahiro returned to revamp them and I love it. They still hold their symbolism and their sound design is amazing. Not much to be said. They were great in the OG and they're still great in the remake. Blooper did want to spice things up a bit with the otherworld versions of the nurses and the lion figure, and I love it. Their AIs are more aggressive now. This is both a good thing and a bad thing. Let's go over the bad quickly. Sometimes the game will throw multiple monsters at you in small areas. They can combo you to death, and the over-the-shoulder camera doesn't help. By the way, I don't think it's the camera's fault here, it's just that I think Blooper added too many monsters in one small area. My first death was on the first stage of the labyrinth, when the gang of them jumped me. It's not fun. Yet! On the other hand, as a horror experience, it's fucking lit. I have never been so scared playing the Silent Hill games since 4. Like those fucking dummies! Half the time they're dumb as rocks, but the other half they will jump you hard! It must be said that in the OG, the monsters were never aggressive. That's kind of the point, because James is depressed, haha. He doesn't really care, you know, haha. But I was still scared playing the game on hard. Some places the AI will go too nuts, but ultimately, I like the changes. Time to talk about the bosses! This is where the fun begins. I love all of the bosses apart from you. Out of everything in the OG, the bosses had room for the most improvement, and Blooper made it work. For the most part. It really made the bosses feel more impactful in my opinion, especially Flesh Lips and Mary. I love how they stop floating and become grounded, it makes their connections even clearer. And speaking of Mary, holy fuck, she doesn't want James to let go of her. It hammers how much Mary was a big part of James's life, and I like that. Oh, I love Mary's new final boss fight. Even Eddie's boss fight on paper was great. I still think it leans on being too cruel, but on paper I dig it. Red Pyramid thing is, sweet maker! He's a little buffer, but I ain't judging. Both fights were great. Here it comes! Abstract Daddy, the worst fucking boss, and in my opinion, the worst change in the remake. So where do I begin? The misuse of the track Daddy's Revenge, the so-called maze in the first 2 phases don't feel like Daddy is cornering you. Not once in my multiple playthroughs did Daddy catch me or deal damage to me. Even one of my friends who really sucks at video games took no damage from Daddy. The animation of Angela running is funny. It's so stupid, it's hilarious. The television made us both spoon feed you what is happening and trying to humanize Angela's dad to make the situation more horrific is stupid because he legitimately says generic evil shit. The last phase doesn't include Daddy's Revenge. Why? Why doesn't it? Daddy breaks walls too, like he's meant to trap you, not open more paths, laughing my ass off. Without lock on camera, the fight isn't as scary. In the OG, a big part of why the boss fight worked so well is how it works with the theme of forced. You fought in a tiny room. Angela is scared stiff, like she's being chained. Forced to watch. The thrusting pistons, forcing themselves back and forth. Daddy charging at you, forcing a grab. The fresh wall. Daddy's design, combined with Daddy's revenge. Symbolism is thrown out of the fucking window. It is very clear what is happening, and you are forced to view it. You are being choked in a tiny room of flesh. This is what Angela is literally feeling. Knowing what Angela is a victim of CSA, this theme of being forced, makes you understand a tiny bit of what Angela went through growing up. It makes the fire staircase scene more fucking tragic. Daddy did not need a revamp. The fight was purposely obnoxious because it made you feel choked. You were forced to deal with Daddy in a tiny room like Angela. The lock on camera forced that. Fucking hell. Wait a second, I have to mention that the remake Daddy can break through walls too. What the fuck? So much for feeling and being trapped and choked. The long hallways doesn't have that sense of being choked, cornered by Daddy. Angela running is hilarious because she has the power to run. Daddy made her powerless. Her animation it's ridiculous. And the fucking TVs is the worst writing in the remake, and you can really tell that Team Silent had nothing to do with those lines. The funny thing is, you can humanize monsters. Postal Dude from Postal 1, watch my fucking 3-hour video on that game, is a perfect example. He is a mass shooter and almost shoots up at elementary school. What makes him human is the art of him being stressed, him refusing to shoot up the school, and the war journals that display a man breaking down and afraid for his life. Even the ending scene talks about the stresses of modern life. Running with scissors added enough to make a human character. A few fucking lines of generic evil shit is not enough to humanize Angela's dad. You have to do more. Guess what? Making him more evil is dumb because he's already a bad person. That's why in the OG, less is more. On top of that, Angela's dialogue confirms what he did. You don't need this extra dialogue from a dad. I want to be in water right now. And people think this was a good change. Even the toy Masahiro was like, oh my god, I love the new daddy fight. Mr. Masahiro, I think you're having a senior moment. I forgot why that part of your game was great. And like, okay, if you think it's good, that's your opinion, and you know, whatever. But I'm frustrated because it was handled really, really well, you know? And, okay, this is getting really, really negative. So I want to talk about the few good things that he does in the remake. Well, two things. Number one, Angela's little room. It's clear that this was where she hid and it's her safe place. Number two, Daddy's additional face. Blooper added a new face to Daddy. I love it. If you don't know, Daddy only had one face in the OG. However, it appears two bodies formed Daddy. This is where the idea that Angela's brother took part in the abuse. This was never confirmed though. Later media suggested that her brother was involved. Blooper went fuck it and made it so he was involved in the remake. This makes Daddy even more messed up. Daddy was already a vile monster and this only makes it even more viler. So yeah, I'm upset because it was handled so carefully in the OG. It really didn't need changing. If it was just a third phase but with a smaller area, it would have been fine. Hell, if you want the hallways, make them slowly degrade into a hole that leads to the first room. This would have symbolized that even trying to run doesn't help. Daddy will always be waiting. You cannot run from Daddy. You cannot run away from your trauma. You cannot run away from your memories. It would have added to Angela's tragic story. These are the first did something like this, and in my opinion, it was pretty powerful. The remake is beautiful. Holy hell, so much care was put into making Silent Hill pretty as fuck. Even the nasty stuff looks proper nasty. I love it. The atmosphere is still intact, it still feels like Silent Hill. To be honest, Silent Hill 2, 3 and 4 are still pretty games, and by far Silent Hill 2 Remake is the prettiest game of 2024. I just love how the fog looks. It's so beautiful. I do have to mention the Otherworld's design. I like it. It's good. But safe. Like, okay, it's pretty clear that it's meant to represent something that made James happy turning into rot, decay, and now brings pain. Like, Mary? That's cool and I like it. Yeah, I prefer the mystery of the Otherworld design in the OG. In that version, nothing really changed in Silent Hill. Until this day, fans still debate when exactly James entered the Otherworld. That's because James is depressed and wishes to commit suicide. It all looks the same because he simply doesn't care. His life means very little, so the Otherworld reflects that. In the remake, it's made very clear when he enters the Otherworld. This is definitely my nostalgia bias kicking in, but I think the OG's Otherworld is better. The remake's one isn't bad at all. If I may say, I like what Blooper did with the hotel. In my opinion, it definitely felt like a nod to the OG's Otherworld. When James enters Lakeview's hotel, he's in the Otherworld. It's just empty, abandoned, of course, and monsters, but shut up. But as you progress through the hotel, it slowly becomes more and more ruined, and when James learns the truth, he leaves the Otherworld. The hotel in reality is all burnt and destroyed. I love this extra twist. It's like the town is doubling down, and it's like, you murdered Mary, and look at the hotel. It's nothing but ash. Mary's special place was her room in the hotel, and it's burnt to hell. A place that made him happy, made Mary happy, is gone. It sucks this only happens at the Lakeview Hotel, but in my opinion, it's great. You don't notice the hotel becoming more ruined. It blurs together like fart face. Doesn't even comment on it. I like this extra twist. GG blooper. There's not really much to say about the soundtrack. It's a masterpiece. Akira Yamaoka returned and revamped some tracks, and made some new ones, but most are the same and haven't been touched. They're all masterpieces. My favourite revamped tracks are Laura Plays the Piano and Betrayal. The Man made them even more emotionally gut-punching, and I cried hearing them. The sound design is great too. The monsters all sound nasty, and it's great. Silent Hill 2's soundtrack is a masterpiece, and the sky is blue. I won't explain why it's a masterpiece here, because that belongs in the Silent Hill 2 video, if I ever make it. But yeah, it's bloody powerful. One petty complaint I have is Pacimimo Epilogue isn't in the remake. Like, why? That's my favourite track. It's used in the results screen in the OG. To quote the movie that inspired the game, that perfectly describes how powerful Pacimo Epilogue is. If you're frightened of dying, and you're holding on, you see devils tearing your life away. But if you made your peace, then the devils are really angels, freeing you from the earth. It's just a matter of how you look at it. That's all. The song soothes your soul! But yeah, that's a paid complaint. What isn't a paid complaint are the jump scares. Don't worry, I won't show anything here. Boo! Sorry. There are tons of it. It's mostly sound. Sad thing is that they're really good sounds. It's not cheap loud music jump scares, but environmental ones. But it doesn't belong in Silent Hill 2. In the OG, there was like one proper one that you had to go out of your way to get. That's it. Silent Hill 2 does not need them. I was very disappointed when I was jump scared. It doesn't belong in Silent Hill 2! Here are some stuff I want to talk about but didn't know where to put it. Blooper made 2 new endings in the remake, Bliss and Stillness. They both fit and are very appropriate for Silent Hill 2. Stillness in particular is Blooper's version of the in-water ending, and holy fuck, I wish it was the in-water ending. Both James and Mary's voice actor and actress smashed it. Somehow they made the in-water ending even more sadder, tragic, and depressing. What the fuck? Okay, in-water is always gonna be my canon ending, but wow, the music as well. It's new and it's just, whoa, it's good! Oh my god, the Stillness ending is so good! The UFO ending also is slightly different because it features Space James, aka OG James! It's official, it's my favourite joke ending. Sorry Downpour, your cake ending is adorable, but UFO takes that cake and throws it to the ground. When saving, James stares at you throughout the game, but after speaking to Angela in the fire stairway, he can no longer look at the player. I love this. Something I do not like in the remake is how in most cutscenes, James doesn't look away when talking to the other characters. In the OG, it was my favourite thing about James because it tells you he may be hiding something, or he's just a really awkward guy. It's a human behaviour that makes him more real and relatable. Plus, it hints he's hiding something. He's not telling you the whole truth. So having him look away, here we see nothing but shame, guilt, uneasy. He's uncomfortable. James can't even look at you. It's amazing. James makes more sounds in general. I don't mean talking, I mean grunts and screams, those type of sounds. I like this. He sounds so pathetic. He sounds like a loser. I like trash men. I like pathetic men. We need more of this. James also doodles on the map. It's cute. It's cute. That's it. Last and not least, the many references to Silent Hill 4. There are so many nods to that game and it makes me happy because I love Silent Hill 4. There was even a piece of music that reminded me of the Room of the Angel. This can be heard after the hospital. Listen. So yeah, does this mean Silent Hill 4 Remake is next? Please Blooper, please. I beg of you. I know there's the cult sign in the room, but please, just we need 4. 4 needs a remake, please. I mean, Silent Hill 1 also needs a remake, but please, 4, please, I'm begging of you. That's the video. I adore the remake. It definitely has flaws, And I still believe the OG is the perfect game ever, yet this is by far the most faithful remake I've played. This should be the new norm, the new standard for other remakes. I'm looking at you, RE2 and 3 remake. Now the real question is, should I start working on the Silent Hill 2 video, talking about the OG game and why it's really, really good and it's the perfect video game and why it's the highest form of art ever, because it really deserves its own video. But I have a strange feeling it will be even longer than my Postal 1 video. I don't know. If I do decide to make it, I'll try my best, I guess. But wait, this video isn't over yet. A massive shout out and love to KurokiHollow for making the avatar used for the thumbnail of this video. It's so beautiful and they are talented as hell. I'm so grateful that I get to work with them again. I'm ordering you to send them some love and support them. Do it. They make the not safe for work stuff, so you have been warned. So what are you waiting for? Go and follow them and commission them and support them. Their links are in the description. Do it. What are you waiting for? Do it now. Support them. Support KurokiHollow now. Do it. Go on. Do it now. Support them. Go!